At some point in your life, you have probably looked back at a decision you made and genuinely could not explain it, not because it was complicated, but because some part of you knowingly walked away from something you actually wanted. A goal you abandoned just before it became real. An opportunity you procrastinated on until it disappeared. A relationship you pulled away from right when it started to feel good. From the outside it looks like self-destruction. From the inside it felt completely reasonable at the time. That gap, between what you want and what you keep doing, is what this video is about. Self-sabotage is not laziness and it is not a character flaw. It is your brain running a protection program that it built a long time ago and never got around to updating. Your brain's primary function is not to make you successful. It is to keep you safe. And to a brain wired for survival, anything unfamiliar registers as a potential threat, including the possibility of failure, of judgment, and even of success itself. Research on the prefrontal cortex shows that when the perceived cost of effort feels too high, the brain begins discounting the value of future rewards and quietly steering you toward avoidance, long before you consciously register that it is happening. In neuroscience, this is called self-handicapping, and it is a measurable pattern, not a personality type. Which means it can be changed. There are 3 reasons behind it. 1. The fear of failing. When the stakes are high enough, the brain decides that not trying at all is safer than trying and coming up short. If you never fully commit, you can never fully fail. It is a painful logic, but to a brain optimized for self-protection, it makes complete sense. 2. The fear of succeeding. This one is far less talked about and far more common than most people realize. Research published in Current Psychology found that many people unconsciously fear their own success, worrying it will damage their relationships, expose them as undeserving, or raise expectations they cannot sustain. So they pull back before they ever have to find out. 3. A belief about self-worth. If somewhere beneath the surface you carry the belief that you are not capable, not deserving, or not the kind of person who gets to have good things, your behavior will quietly arrange itself to confirm that belief. The brain does not distinguish between what is true and what it has been taught to expect. It simply acts accordingly. How to actually break the cycle? First, observe the pattern before you try to fight it. You cannot interrupt something you cannot see. The next time you feel that familiar pull to delay, avoid or withdraw, pause long enough to ask yourself what you are actually protecting yourself from. That single moment of honest awareness creates a gap between the automatic response and your actual choice. And that gap is where change begins. Second, lower the cost of the first move. Because the brain's resistance is triggered by perceived effort, the most effective way to move through it is to make the starting point almost unreasonably small. Not the whole project, one paragraph. Not the whole conversation, one honest sentence. The brain needs evidence that moving forward is survivable. Small actions build that evidence faster than motivation ever will. Third, question the story, not just the behavior. Self-sabotaging behavior is almost always downstream of a belief about your capability, your worth, or what you deserve. Developing the habit of examining those beliefs directly and asking whether they still hold up under scrutiny is what creates lasting change. This is not positive thinking. It is intellectual honesty applied to the assumptions that have been quietly running your decisions. Self-sabotage is one of the most common and least discussed patterns in human behavior, not because people are broken, but because the brain is doing exactly what it was built to do. The work is not about removing the instinct. It is about understanding it clearly enough that it stops making your decisions for you. Because the life you keep almost building is not out of reach. It is just waiting on the other side of a pattern you now have the language to name.